Hey guys, Dylan here. Before this podcast on Craig of the Creek, wanted to express all of our support here at Overly Animated for Black Lives Matter and direct you all to blacklivesmatter.card.co. That's card with 2 R's. For ways you can help. Look in the podcast description for that and some other links we think are relevant. We're going to talk about related issues for a little bit of this Craig podcast, also just generally on Craig of the Creek. So enjoy the podcast, guys. Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Craig of the Creek, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Alex Bonilla.
Hey.
We are talking Craig of the Creek, once again here at the end of season 2. We're recording this podcast where season 2 has ended, at least as aired all of episodes, at least on the app. I don't know if it's on TV. And then the season 3 premiere is scheduled to be soon, but we haven't seen it yet as of this recording. Kind of was unsure when to do the podcast, but because they went right into season 3. But we're doing it now, so you might have seen the season 3 premiere already if you're listening, but we have not seen it yet as of recording. And we'll be discussing such topics as, is Craig of the Creek 2 weeb?
Is that really your headline question?
It's my headline question.
No.
That's
the answer is no, Dylan.
Wow, I guess we don't need to talk about it anymore then. Okay.
Huzzah!
No, we need to talk about it. It's so good.
Oh, okay. We do need to talk about it. Okay, interesting. But we answered the question, but we'll get more into it. Yeah, and also obviously just talking about Craig generally, topics about the back half of season 2. There's been 15 episodes since our last podcast. 15 episodes, so we won't be getting into everything, but the ones we'll be vaguely referring to here are from Ancients of the Creek until the Jinxening. And this has been in 2 batches or 3 batches of episodes, I think, but it's all been pretty recently. So excited to get back into Craig of the Creek. Everything at overlyanimated.com. Find all the links there to subscribe to us in our Craig feed. Okay, let's jump into it. We got 15 episodes here, so kind of very, very vague thoughts on, very general thoughts, I should say, on everything that's happened since we've last talked about Craig. And maybe a highlight or 2 that jumps out, whether it be an episode, a scene, an aspect from all these episodes. Michelle.
Well, I really enjoyed this giant chunk of episodes. I feel
was
like
it a chonker of
is
episodes?
it chonker batch?
Yeah.
15 is a lot. And I mean, we've had so much Craig the past month or so, but we hadn't had Craig for like a while before then. So it's just nice that we have all this hefty Craig going on right now. I really enjoyed the plot, honestly. For like, I was surprised how much we got. Like, because we've been sedated with plot for like once every 10 episodes up till now. And now we have like this ongoing thread of not only like the other side of the creek with the Creek King and that whole backstory situation, which is awesome, but also like the Ancients of the Creek period, like the kids from like the whole creek and like the capture the flag game. And then the war ? And like finding all the ruins. Like I love all that stuff, and I feel like it was really well done. So I really enjoyed that. But I feel bad because my like number 1 takeaway is the anime shovel. It's so good. It's like the most nonsense thing in the world, but like it stuck with me probably because that one kid made out with it, and that was like amazing.
The saliva.
It was. I know, it's so good. And his poor friend's like, it's a shovel. Like he didn't understand like what was behind.
Do you understand, Michelle?
I understand a little more than that one kid did, but not as much as the kid who smooched it probably did. So that's like my one serious takeaway, and then my like crazy takeaway. I love the shovel, but the plot stuff is really great too.
Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like that the shovel stuck more in your head though than the plot stuff.
Oh my god.
Sounds like to me.
It was just such a surprise.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably one of the more notable gags from the bunch when I've seen people talking about. I think it was in another episode somewhere. I don't know though. I will preface with this podcast with I've not rewatched these episodes, and some of them I watched a few weeks ago, so I'm not going to remember stuff from some of them. I apologize. We'll see if Michelle and Alex remember everything.
Yeah.
Alex, your highlights from these 15 episodes and generally your thoughts.
Well, it's not because of the kissing shovel thing, but Crisis at Elder Rock is probably my favorite of this bunch, just because I think the elders are used to perfection in that. And I think that my general takeaway is that this was a big group for. I mean, I feel like every batch we cover, there's always a big episode for a side character, but like this group especially, like Crisis at Elder Rock, has really good usage of the elders. We have the ferret quest, which uses wilderness and stacks pretty well with Kelsey, and obviously into the overpass, which like gets into the green poncho and Maya, and like it gives us some extra emotion to connect us to those characters. So I think that overall it just continues that Craig of the Creek streak of coming back to various kids around and giving us more, slowly building our emotional connection to them. So I really appreciate that. I'll say there are probably like a couple of episodes that I was not that into, but so like but again, like this is like a group of 15 episodes, so it's a bigger batch than we usually cover. So like I think on the whole, it still remained a pretty consistent watch, but there are several standouts here in terms of like how ridiculous it gets sometimes, which I like when when the show gets there.
Okay, I'm preparing to be outraged by the ones you weren't into.
I'm wondering if it's like the return of Dog Girl, Bridget, because she always makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if it's the dog one, I'm gonna be outraged.
Okay.
Well, because she has like tangential like Carter energy. That's why Dylan likes Bridget. Like that's it right there.
Energy.
All the characters that I feel really uncomfortable about, Dylan's just on board with.
I think Bridget's worse though.
Bridget has furry energy. I don't know if that's Carter related.
She really does. And serious cult energy.
Okay, while we're here, dog propaganda galore, man. Like,
I know, right?
I accept the dog people, but like as a cat person, I will not stand for you can only be happy if you get a dog. So this is just terrible messaging to bring to the children.
The show is ultimately saying.
Thank you so much. I feel this way my entire life moving through this world that is so pro dog.
We understand this podcast is pro cat. We understand.
Yeah, this is a very pro cat podcast, which is wonderful. We found each other.
Look, JP has a cat. That happened in one of these episodes. JP's
Goo.
cat.
We've seen Goo maybe a total of 2 times.
We've seen Goo
before,
but yeah, that's in one of these 15 episodes, right?
Yeah, that video where he's knocking off the bottle of milk at the beginning of that. It was really good.
Okay, so there's a cat.
He's like, I trained him to do this, and my mom hates it.
Yeah, makes sense. We haven't mentioned the musical episode yet. That's definitely one of the highlights from this bunch. Yeah. It's extremely notable. I like it. I've been listening to the soundtrack. Glad they put that up. And we'll talk about that.
Jeff Rosenstock is definitely a name that, like, one of the few names in animation music that, like, I keep very well aware, just because, like, it's a unique style that he brings to this show. Like, also, again, like, at the end of that Elders of the Creek episode, there's also a pretty decent song that the kids hold up because of, like, the backing music that goes with it. So it's a very upbeat energy that very much fits this show. And so I love whenever we get to do music, and so we got a couple of that in this bunch, not just the musical episode.
Yeah, how dare you not mention Bridget's song?
Oh my gosh, I forgot Bridget's. She sings really well, though.
Yeah, to be fair, that was actually a good song. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why that's a great episode. Okay. I haven't decided if I'm memeing about that episode or not yet. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The musical episode. These are all. I don't think there's any episodes I didn't like here. My biggest takeaway by the end, once they just kept hammering home the anime, was like, oh my god, what's happened to this show? Is this just an anime now? Is that what's happening? I say this tongue in cheek, but we'll talk about it.
Maybe you're just responding to the discomfort of feeling so so targeted in this anime.
No, I do feel targeted. It's true. I'll admit it. I'm being made fun of here. Okay, it's fine. But I think the Jinxening, which is like, we go from like anime references in an episode to the Jinxening, it's just like an entire episode that's an anime. In a way, it's styled that way. And I'm like, oh, the season finale. This show doesn't really do season finales up to this point. You could argue the backstory was kind of that. But the Jinxening was a very big episode for this show in terms of construction and I mean, like, it's kind of like what they were going for is there's just like a villain that they have to defeat and stuff. And so they're playing into that sort of thing. But like production values wise, I feel like they went kind of all in on Jinxening. And I do think that's one of the standout episodes of this bunch for me.
I would say also weirdly, to me at least, it felt more like an early season 1 episode in that it's like focusing on this tradition that kids have. Like I know the Jinx game from like very little.
They had to do Jinx at some point here,
right? And like that feels like something like that. Like in the early parts of the show, like they were like hitting those more frequently, and then as time goes on, we're kind of getting a bit more like far out with our episode premises. But this felt like a little, almost like more back to basics, even though like they still go all out on the animation of it and like, you know, like the whole LARPing aspect of this is real to the kids, even though like it's actually just like a game going on. But like, so I appreciated like, you know, going back to basics for that kind of an episode again.
Yeah, it's a basic Craig premise done in a very demonstrative way, which I think is a good idea. And I guess where the show is now, which it's not heavily serialized in any way or even serialized most of the time, although we got these plot threads that we'll be discussing. I feel like the Jinxening is their way of going big at the end of a season, maybe. Although I don't know what the intended order is. They could all be out of order, for all I know.
Jinxening is, I believe,
it is supposed to be the last episode.
The musical, I think, is technically it's borderline. I don't exactly know where season 3 starts, but like according to the database I know, Jinxening's like episode 80, and the musical is 81. So
okay, are you supposed to say that? Yeah. So
the I musical, don't think they're out in the world. It's fine.
Yeah, the musical might be technically season 3. It's complicated because there's been 80 episodes of Craig now, but that's if you count the 2-parters as 2 episodes each. So I could see how the ordering might be confusing. Like they get 40 11-minute chunks in each season. So in season 2, there's a few double ups. I just know this because looking at the Wikipedia. But no, Jinxening. Intensive knowledge from looking at the Wikipedia. Obviously the highlight is Ferret Quest of this.
Okay.
Obviously, I mean, I'm not trying to claim it's the best episode. I don't know. I honestly, like, so many Craig episodes are similar quality. It's like, I will say, this is a talking point, but I think we've gone through all of season 2 without having an episode I liked as much as the top 2, which we always mention. So I'm not as concerned with what is like the best episode, but Ferret Quest I think is great, and it's just the one that appeals to me the most, obviously, because we got a love triangle with Kelsey, Stax, and Wildernessa. And,
you've been waiting for this.
We've been waiting for Ferret Quest. I didn't know they'd go so in depth into it. So like dive in head first into what we're doing. That's kind of maybe that should be in that line. That's kind of a theme of what we dive into. Decide to do something, we'll go hard into it, I think, at the end of the show. There's a lot of other good episodes. Secret in the Bottle, I think, is a very good episode. I don't remember as much some of the earlier ones. But I did like Crisis at Elder Rock Trading Day. Yeah, I mean the backstory episode is of course very notable, but I feel like we're going to talk about whether, you know, what our thoughts end up being on the plot stuff as we've gone a little bit more frequent into it at the end of the season, maybe.
I did notice that too. That like in previous podcasts, like we've gone through this whole discussion, like, are we gonna get into plot more frequently at some point? And it's like this batch finally feels like, okay, we're actually like following up on episodes pretty quickly after like Ancients of the Creek happened, and it felt like a couple episodes later it was already being referenced. So like. So I appreciate that move on top of filling out the other sides with the Overpass episode as well. So I appreciate the fact that we're finally like making plot a little bit more frequent in the show.
Yeah, and I should mention last in general thoughts of the episodes. The Jessica Shorts episode, I think, was really good.
Oh my god, I love the Jessica Shorts, and we got to see more Bernard in that episode, which was very nice.
Also, Jessica's great.
Jessica's great, and also she smacked Craig's face like 3 times, and every time was like strangely very hilarious. Like I love Craig.
Does that get to go in a promo all the different times Jessica smacks Craig?
If they would ever let me do something like that, I would absolutely go for it.
It might be too violent for the kids.
National Punch Day? No, that didn't go.
National Punch Day? Yeah, let's get that going.
Something like that, right? Exactly. I like that they they varied the structure for one episode. I think I don't know, Adventure Time did shorts episodes sometimes. I think it's a good call. I think they should do a few more of those in season 3. Of course, it's written already, so we'll see. But I assume we could talk about the plot stuff. Because we've already mentioned, and I think we've been talking about like how do we like how they're handling this other side plot that's kind of been woven into the season. But at the end of this season, we kind of get a second serialization. Maybe at least 2 episodes follow up on each other, which is atypical for this show with this Ancients plot. And I kind of assume that this will be a recurring thing. It's only came up again once this season, but I think it's notable that we did something that's serialized other than the other side, although this obviously could connect to that plot in some way.
Maybe it does actually, because like we still don't have a good reason for why there are 2 sides of the creek, but maybe it was all one creek and then it split in half over the flag game.
And we learn in the backstory with the other side that this monarchy is kind of recurring, so maybe it went back as far as the Ancients, maybe that's how
as the 70s. Yeah.
It's a long line of kids. I don't know, not all siblings for that line. I don't know how that would work, but do you pass it on to your kid? But I thought that this showed a doubling down maybe on this. It felt tentative, I guess, what the show was doing with the other side. It felt like we weren't committing to it fully, but I feel like with this batch, it's like, okay, we're doing this. Like, I feel more assured that the show is going to continue to follow up on this plot line and potentially have other kind of serialized plot lines.
And like, especially to me at the end of the Overpass where we like introduced that there was even an old green poncho and we get a quick look at her character design. Like that felt like the most like, look, you're going to get this next time kind of thing. Like in previous Other Side episodes, for whatever reason, like I never got the sense like, oh, like here's something to hook you for the next time around. But like that felt like a real like we're going to touch on this again.
Yeah, I agree.
And Craig even like brings up, he like wants to know who she is immediately.
Yeah.
That's like a straight up cliffhanger type of, not like a literal cliffhanger, but like introducing something that's not followed up on for a show that's pretty contained usually within its episodes. What do we think of the Ancients plot? I was intrigued. I don't think we did anything groundbreaking thus far with it.
Yeah, I mean, for now, like, I think that they're doing the first step of like this is just a way for them to get a new map, and Craig, being obsessed with maps, is going to want to track down all the old landmarks, and they'll discover new things that way. So, like, that feels like a good starting point. But yeah, like, I don't know what's unless, as Michelle points out, like it converges with the other plot thread we have. But like, other than that, like, I don't know what's like the end game with that, aside from just like giving Craig and his gang new impetus to keep discovering new places in season 3.
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Okay, that's good.
Because the reason I liked it is because it's like, I don't know, I feel like there are a few shows out there that like to delve into like, this is like the kid world and this is how kids like make their own society. But the really nice thing about The Ancient is it's like, it acknowledges that older like societies of kids also existed and they had different toys and their world was slightly different. And so it's like a kid kind of history and mythology all of its own. So I love the fact that they go to all these locations that have since been reclaimed with modern day things for modern day kids. And they have to go like uncover them and like realize that like their whole creek was used differently. Like I love the sundial thing with the tree and like the creepy like puppet stadium under the skating area. And the precarious treetop, like all these locations that made sense to the kids that were using them like 50 years ago that don't really make sense to the Craig kids now. And even just like the hideout when they're like, wow, like this soda bottle's so old, and like all these old comics and stuff. Like they don't know what half those things are, but they're very intrigued by them because it feels like kid history. So I think, like, in terms of world building, again, like, that's very, that's a really cool way to cement just, like, the legitimacy of, like, all the things we see the kids do. Like, they have their own history just like adults have history. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think it's cool too, and I think it was pretty shocking at first when it's like, oh, the 70s, wow, we're so far back.
I know. I mean, that feels old to us even. That's saying something.
Oh yeah, very old to us too. I agree. I want to highlight the second Ancients episode, The End Was Here, as also one of my favorites of the batch because this
because Jason is good?
This features Jason. And it features Craig and Jason, which is truly the catchador of my heart, is Craig and Jason.
Honestly, I feel it because Jason was so pitiful in that episode. All he wanted was someone to play with. I was like, dang, like, that's pretty sad. Like, maybe Craig should play with you.
There's just like a random like really good action scene in this episode I'm remembering now. I haven't seen this in a few weeks, but I have that written down yet. There's just like this is one of the episodes they went hard into, which is like most of these, honestly. Yeah. But I don't know. Jason's a character who at one point it felt like the show was had grand plans for, and has been sidelined to more of an extent recently. So I was happy to see this and his dynamic with Craig. Like it felt like Jason was a Jamak type character from Kipo at first.
Totally.
Like, right? But that they've kind of firmly kept him on in more of an antagonist type role. But this was the first, I feel like, humanizing episode for Jason in a while. And we're shipping, just saying.
No, I mean, I'm starting to come around, honestly.
Okay.
I think it is entirely one-sided so far, but I see the potential for more.
I'm just hoping Michelle's already been convinced by a future season 3 episode. That's what my
I
heart is
actually
hoping
haven't
for right now.
any of season 3 yet.
Oh, you haven't seen anything beyond this?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
busy, but I will eventually.
Okay. So no trying to read into what Michelle said.
Yeah.
I was trying to before.
To read anything you want. I do love seeing Jason this just kind of beat down and just like, you didn't come to play with me. You came to dig up my backyard and ruin all my flowers for the secret ancient kid knowledge. It's just so like you can't not feel bad for Jason at this point. He initially came off as very annoying back in season 1, but at this point he just like wants to know how to have friends. And he's really bad at figuring that out, and that's his whole problem. And it's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. Don't go to someone else's island and dig up all their flowers. Yeah, we know.
Yeah, that's sad.
Okay.
I guess like a not really a common theme, but like sort of a common theme of these episodes is like the main trio needing to expand when they're a friend group when it comes to doing these kind of journeys. Because like it's kind of a similar thing with Ferret Quest, right? Like Kelsey has Stax as a friend, but apparently never invites her to like do actual quests sort of thing. And same thing with Jason, where they kind of just like want to push him aside to do their mission. So like, you know, include people more. I think that's a message.
Include people more. I think that's a message.
Even if they're not your friends. I think that was the thing. Like, Jason just wasn't their friend. That's why they didn't include him.
He should be their friend.
He wants to be their friend. I just don't know if they're ready for that.
He's too tsundere, but he wants this show. I can't. I mean, we've said all these other weeb terms. We could say tsundere to him about.
Oh my gosh.
That's not. It's absolutely in play. So
we're 10 episodes away from JP using that term.
Yeah, JP's like, I've been hanging out with the Ninja Kids. Now I know all these anime terms. Yeah. I mean, it could happen, right? Like literally anything's
the one
possible.
Who says Nani.
Yes, Kelsey says Nani.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you guys dying to get into our next topic?
Well, let's just first
to wrap up the plot. One more thing. So we talked last time about how the plot episode's kind of a different tone to them, and maybe to some people that might not be as appealing, which I think is probably true of the backstory episode as well. I was very intrigued with everything we learned about the king who was the prince and the king's sister, and then Green Poncho was their friend, and Maya's friend too. Green Poncho is Omar. And we learn all these other names, King Xavier. But it definitely has that tone. Like, I like doing the plot stuff. I think my take is that I still prefer the other stuff in the show. So I'm kind of like glad it's there, but I feel like it hasn't gotten to a point where I'm like super hype about plot episodes when we get to them. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree.
Well, I don't know if this is related, but like one thing I did notice with Overpass is that like most of these episodes are anchored to the perspective of one of the three main characters, Craig, JP, or Kelsey. Like Into the Overpass, for the most part, is told by Green Poncho. So like Craig, none of our main characters actually have an active role in that episode for most of it. So like. I just find it interesting that we're going for a different way of doing the plot episodes as opposed to like needing them to go to the other side for us to get this information. Or like someone can just like tell us it and show us other characters through flashbacks. So that works too. And to me, honestly, like I appreciate that a little bit more than like needing to squeeze Craig into a story that like at the moment he's not involved in as much. So I think that it's worth it to like try different ways of doing this.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think what we've gotten is pretty interesting. So from the plot stuff, I have other ideas on like different types of serialization I might like to see, but we can talk about that along with like what might we want Craig to do in the future. So the debating serious topic or weeb stuff. No, but I think before we talk about weeb stuff, we can acknowledge the context of Craig airing right now, because the reason I thought of that was because it's like, oh, silly weeb stuff. You know, it feels it's part of like the weird feeling, I guess, when you're when you're watching Craig and other shows like at the moment in the current state of the world, I would say. I don't know if that will affect people's reading of any sort of silliness in the show. But, you know, kind of talking about Craig in light of current societal unrest, current protests for Black Lives Matter, and everything happening there, you know, even in the pandemic too. But we talked about this on the Kipo podcast recently, kind of just like how the show feels in the context of what's airing, and this is something that's been acknowledged by the Craig crew. So I think it was nice to see that. And I think Cartoon Network even retweeted the tweet I'm going to read here, which I think was nice too. So I rather than us commenting too much on it, although we could comment a little bit after, I think a lot of great things were said by designer Nick Wynn on the show. So I want to read his post. This from a few weeks ago, though, so that context in mind. He says, "Hi everyone, this past week's been very scary and confusing, especially Black people around the world. Seeing both a flood of hate and support has mentally exhausted us to the point where most of us wake up the next day with sadness and anger on the forefront. What we've also seen is a wonderful support of Black artists, Black businesses, and Black creatives as a whole. That being said, there are new episodes of Craig of the Creek on the Cartoon Network app. Seeing the sudden post has made me feel a bit uneasy, as it's a very sensitive time to be posting stuff like this, but I do want the show to be celebrated. This post is not in any way trying to distract detract from what is going on in the world today. This is simply another post to bring joy to anyone who needs it. The show has put Black voices on the forefront and continues to do so. The time and care the crew puts in to make sure the show is authentic as they can makes me proud to work on Craig. People like, I apologize if I get any names wrong, Tiffany Ford, Jeff Trammell, Ashley Hairston, Naja Porter, Deshaun Mahone, Mark Collins, and Richie Pope, Pearl Law, and Lamar Abrams are only a few of the Black creatives that have made the show what it is today. And I'm in awe and so grateful to watch them work. Although this release of episodes came in what I think was the wrong time, I don't think I want these episodes to go unrecognized. This specific batch of episodes shows the perfect example of what Black creatives can do in the industry given the chance. Also, I'm proud of how diverse our crew is, and I want them all to be celebrated for their efforts as well. We all work our butt off to give children the shows and characters they want to see as kids. We are continuing to create more episodes and characters that reflect our childhood experience and constantly have meetings on how we can improve every aspect of the show. If you decide you're not going to watch the show and engage at this time, I understand. Again, this post is not meant to distract people from the news and what needs to be done in our industry and country. This post is meant to bring joy to any family, individual, and child that wants to brighten up their day and see Black people shown in a wonderfully positive light. Thank you for taking the time to read this, and God bless Black Lives Matter. So I think that is really well put, all of that. But we I think in Kipo we're talking about kind of the show in terms of like what the characters are, how diverse the characters are in the show, and the relationship between Kipo and Craig, as they both feature like multiple Black main characters, which is like unfortunately pretty atypical of modern animated shows and TV in general. I think probably the two blackest cartoons on TV. But we were like, I think I had a few criticisms kind of like, there not being more Black creatives in the Kipo crew. And I think fortunately there, as highlighted by Nick Wynn, there are a lot of Black creatives and artists working on Craig. So I think that's great. I think of course there could always be more, and especially on other shows. I think the industry is confronting this in terms of there not being enough Black people hired in all aspects of animation. But the commonality between, the one thing to highlight probably, the commonality between Kipo and Craig would be the white creators of the shows. I think, the Craig creators have probably handled pretty well in terms of hiring a lot of Black people to be on the show, and in general a very diverse crew. But striking there not being really many, if any, animated shows to reference that are currently airing with Black creators. Which I think is pretty sad. I don't think Cartoon Network has a great history with having shows with Black creators. I think OKKO, is that it?
I think that might be it. Yeah,
might be more in the distant past. I'm not sure. So I think that's something to for sure improve in the industry. The industry needs to confront its racism, and even though Craig's wonderful, and I think the surrounding context of Cartoon Network, the industry. Even the fact that there's not, this show doesn't have a Black creator itself, I think. All of these things, I think, are things that need to be reconciled by the industry. I don't know, but one thought on the creators thing, I feel like executives and just generally the production companies or the channels companies, they're very quick these days to want to hire young talent, I think, to create shows. I think that's like a lot of like people in their 20s or 30s are creating these shows. And recently, increasingly, a lot of women too, I think, are creating a lot of kids animated shows. And I think this would apply to adult animated shows too. So I think that executives are kind of like want these fresh perspectives and diversity, and I think in their minds they satisfy that with like, oh, here's a young white woman, and I think that prevents them from hiring Black people to create shows. Just this sense that they're fulfilling this notion of wanting different perspectives on things, and I think that hopefully they're seeing that that's kind of wrong now. Honestly, even there's queer people being hired to make shows too now, and it's just not translating into Black people making shows. And I am hoping that these current discussions surrounding it will help to fix that for the future. Yeah.
Very well said, Dylan.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
I'll just. I think you covered all the industry stuff pretty well. Just with regards to this show specifically, I do want to point out like this. This show is in a unique position where like as opposed to Kipo, which takes place in a fantasy setting, a bit of a post-racial society, Craig of the Creek is depicting a realistic Black family, and like that in itself is meaningful in the sea of cartoons like deal with like fantasy settings where like everything about our world like doesn't apply. Where Craig of the Creek like aims a bit more grounded than that, and that in itself is important in the world of representation. There was that clip on Twitter going around of Craig's grandma pointing out about like how she was protesting in the cities and like how stuff is still needs work today. So like because the show is taking place relatively in our world, it's able to reference things like that. This batch doesn't have too much going on, although it is notable that they like show Craig's dad being a programmer, which like it's important to also show that like Black people should have more opportunities in those technical occupations as well. So it's just in general, Craig of the Creek is important in the fact that it's doing this representation in a more realistic context than perhaps other animated shows, just based on the premise going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And, we get to, but the most important, I think, representation Craig gets into by being like a modern, current, like grounded show is just seeing this Black family surrounding Cred and all their interactions.
All their normal family interactions are so good, and I feel like those are just as important as all the fantastical stuff that like Craig deals with like as a kid. Like he is a kid doing fantastical things, but also he has like a normal family that is also Black, and they have a relationship to each other that is important. Like their Blackness is important to that relationship, which is why it's always nice whenever you see like the family moments, especially with like the uncle and the aunt and stuff. Like the way they like talk and like have a vibe with each other is just so specific to that in a way that like I don't think white people could ever write or fully understand, but it's so important and it comes off so genuine. And that's like the kind of differences that I feel like Black creatives can make, I also don't think Black creatives should be like specific, like they should be writing, for Black characters, but also they should be able to write on anything, the way white creatives are. So
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. and I think that's honestly the big difference in my mind looking at Craig and Kipo right now is I know that there's Black people writing Craig. I think that's been pretty. It's very important and has been reflected in how great Craig has been. And Cartoon Network did tweet that clip of from like many episodes ago of Grandma talking about protesting back then and things being relevant now. And it's like, I appreciate Cartoon Network highlighting things the show's done. It's like feels good, also feels a little bad because it's like Cartoon Network needs to do better, and it's kind of like highlighting the things it's done versus improving. I don't know.
Yes.
It's a little complicated. I should say, obviously we're not the best people or particularly qualified to talk about these issues. And I think would recommend following all these people we're mentioning from the Craig crew on Twitter, elsewhere, to hear what they have to say about anything involving this. Nick Wynn, who I read from, is WINNSTINN on Twitter. Follow Jeff Trammell, other people from the crew. So that's what I'd say about that. Okay. So do I have a transition? Let's see.
To weeb stuff? I don't know.
No, I don't know. It's how I led into that is like, I don't know. Does that affect? I think for Kipo, I was a little more muted, even though I loved, the Kipo season. I think it's the enthusiasm, it just, the feeling surrounding it is different. Do we have that with Craig? I don't know. I think it's just such a joyful show. Maybe it's it shines through when you're watching it.
I'm a little confused what you're asking.
Is Craig, as if there's troubling times, is Craig as effective in in what it's conveying? I think personally.
Well, it depends on if you're looking for escapism or not. If you I mean, obviously there's a place for being in the moment and focusing on the atrocities that are happening right now. But as the tweet you said you posted, it's it might not be the perfect time to put out these episodes, but if you're in a particular mood and if you want to see positive representation going on, Craig of the Creek is the right place to go, and you are boosting Black creatives in a time when they need the support. So yeah, I mean. It depends on what exactly you're looking for, but I think that this is one of the better shows to be looking for in these particular moments.
And specifically, just the normalizing of Black experience in any way, shape, or form is always going to be important. So to have a show that just highlights the validatingness of the normalness of Craig, at the end of the day, and just his family and his community. I feel that's important too, just for other kids to feel normal watching it and to want to have normal lives. Even if the world is crazy, I think that's still something worth striving for, Yeah.
And I think getting back a little bit into the previous discussion. So I think, mileage may vary, and I think, people are take what they like Tweet says, if people may be revisiting this in the future, then seeing in the future, and I think that's very much okay too. Diving into other things from these episodes, let's just how about checking in on the state of Craig at the end of season 2, because it's kind of an arbitrary point, like we talked about, not necessarily a big season distinction, but here we are at the end of season 2. We know full season 3 is coming. We haven't heard beyond that, although I do believe they're still making the show, so that would hopefully tell me that season 4 is being made. 40 episodes into Craig, from the season, the 80 episodes total. Where's the show relative to where we've been talking about it from the beginning. Where is it relative to what we might have expected? I think we're all happy with Craig. I don't know if Craig has particularly changed a ton since maybe as much as we might have expected. I'm not sure. Maybe this is what we expected. But I think it's fundamentally still the same show it kind of was early on in season 1.
Yeah, I feel they've just fine-tuned all the things that were already working for it. I feel the jokes might be a little more snappy and they go harder on some of the animation sequences, but I still love all the characters as much as I did before. It's just I don't know. It's just a stronger structure to what they already had going on, more or less.
Yeah. Alex, are you do you feel happy with where Craig is now? Do you want it to change significantly? Do you want it to tighten things up more?
I don't really feel I need Craig to change from it's been about the same since the first season. But what I would say is if season 3 were the last season, which I could see as a possibility. I think that the end of season 2, where we're touching on plot a little bit more frequently than usual, even though we still had the space for all the usual fun episodic stuff, but we touch on plot a little bit more often than we did earlier in the season. I would, if next season is final, then I would expect that pattern to maybe continue a little bit more, where we're using the ancients and the other side as our through line for the last season, and we touch on them a little bit more often than we might expect. So I could see that happening, but at the same time, I enjoy just all the one-offs, since they give us chances to catch up with all the characters we've met already. And even still introducing some new ones like Message in a Bottle Kid. I don't need Craig to change that much. If it stays on the path that is end of season 2 is doing, that's good. If it goes back to full episodic, that's fine too, because they've already proven that they're still consistent at that.
Okay, I was wondering whether the season 3 premiere is like a big other side episode. It seems like I was wondering
Right.
if the show is going to continue. Now I'm looking at I think it just updated with listings that there will be more episodes of season 3 at the end of June into July. So I was worried we'd like be talking before one episode, but it looks like we're going to continue hard into season 3 of Craig. And I'm just looking at this now, and also I see a beach episode, so even more.
Ooh, there you go. Anime is strong.
Let's see if that's another anime episode. Got The Ground is Lava. That checks out. Okay, so we'll see more of
that checks out.
That checks out. Yeah, I mean I like where Craig is. Craig's always been itself. The attempt at plots I think have been successful. I don't think it's been overwhelmingly successful. I was thinking about this. I'm like, because I'm always I want more serialization guy. So I'm like, okay, we got more serialization, not 100%. What I was looking for. So what am I looking for? Maybe I think maybe character serialization. What if Craig had overarching character arcs, because I feel like that's maybe something missing from the show. There's maybe vague themes, but I do think you can have character arcs that continue throughout the season, even if the episodes themselves aren't serialized. Honestly, I think Miraculous Ladybug does a great job with this. Its episodes air out of order, and yet it is able to have kind of consistent character arcs from the first episode of the season to the last episode. I think that might bring some more depth to what we're doing with each of the three mains.
Well, yes, actually, now that you bring that up, I guess a question is do you guys think that Craig, Kelsey, or JP have changed that much since season 1, episode 1? I personally don't get that, and I'm kind of fine with it. If that's what you're looking for, I'm not sure that the show has succeeded in that. It feels like they're very.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it hasn't really done it thus far, right? So I think that maybe could add a layer.
Oh, that's what you're looking for. That's what
I'm looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think there's been much there. I mean, I think we've confronted a lot of issues kids typically face their age. I mean, the dog episode is I don't have a pet and everyone has a pet, right? We do a lot of stuff like that, but it's not. You can do that and have there be an takeaway thing that kind of plays into Craig's overall arc, and it's not super visible if we are doing something like that. So I don't know. That was kind of a thought I had in terms of what I might be hoping for from the show. Maybe we do Kelsey Wildernessa arc, something like that,
I mean, I will say
one can dream.
I will say one thing about that. So I happen to love the Mortimer's the Rescue episode just because so much of it is Mortimer making cute cheeping sounds, and I live for that. And also when he was puffing himself out to pretend to be a falcon, that was so cute and amazing. But there's a moment when Wildernessa appears when they're in the raft in the algae, and Craig and JP look surprised, and Kelsey visibly blushes again, and just I know she's blushed before, but in that moment it just felt so purposeful that she was blushing. I really wonder if maybe one day they will be a thing for real. I could actually see it at this point.
Yeah, it's definitely a purposeful, legit thing that the show is doing. It's just it's a small moments type thing.
Yeah, it's will they actually pay it off with kids? That's a different.
It would probably be the most shocking queer rep if they do if there's an approached at all in any sort of bigger way with younger children. I think it would be amazing.
I mean, JP's sister already has a girlfriend, and also Craig's cousin has a girlfriend, and
they've done
okay.
it. Also, they've done it with adults. Yeah. That's established.
Well, adults in quotes, yeah. But I think that JP and Mania are a thing.
Raj
why not? Why not? And Raj, that's true. Raj is
they're kids. They're kids, and they are so in love.
Right, and so that's the other thing. I'm hoping we continue Sean and Raj's epic romance into season 2. Number one priority.
Oh my god! If you get that and Craig and Jason, will you be a happy camper?
Oh god! If I get any of the three, I mean,
happy camper.
Are we at camp in Craig? I mean, it's the summer. There's that one camp episode with that camper. She's coming back, right? That one trouble camper.
She and Paloma would have a fun time.
We'll leave it to that. We'll keep putting off the weeb discussion then if we're going to talk about that next.
No.
Look, if Jason, Craig, or even more of Honeysuckle Rangers, or Kelsey Wilderness would be very happy. Okay.
Or Kelsey Stacks. So Stacks
Kelsey
blushed at
Stacks.
Kelsey, you know. so, like,
But what if we go full Stacks Wilderness? Kelsey left out.
That would be so sad. Don't even.
That's what that episode was about.
Yeah, Kelsey coming to terms with her two best friends becoming more than friends.
Not as specifically, but yeah, kind of. The friends, your friends being friends. I think it was like hitting on a general thing while also specifically getting into some things with Kelsey and them. So that would be good. No, honestly though, I don't think the Sean and Raj are in these 15 episodes, so I am deprived. So bring them back, please. But I wanted to quickly follow up on our discussion last podcast on like Craig's going harder into sequels. The episode I have in mind to talk about this is The Children of the Dog, because you guys last podcast you guys were like, I didn't think there'd be a cardboard sequel, but hey, guess what? The number one episode I wouldn't have thought there'd be a sequel to is Dog Decider, and we did a Dog Decider sequel. I would say if you had there's no bad episodes of Craig, but if you just asked me off the top of my head, what's the worst episode of Craig, I'd probably say Dog Decider. So I think it's a weird one to follow up on.
Dog Decider is one of the weirder ones. I wouldn't necessarily call it bad, but it's just one of the ones that makes me like kind of cringe with discomfort the way Carter does. I just don't like thinking about cults and dogs together.
What if it was a cat cult? You'd be into it.
I would feel bad because I'd be like, oh man, the cult probably would get me, but I don't want to. I'd be ashamed of the cat cult.
They would probably get you. That's guaranteed. So I just the willingness to follow up on even Bridget, but that being said, I do think Children of Dog was a successful episode in certain ways. At least it was like interesting, you know. So I do think I'm kind of now, after we followed up on Dog Decider, I think I'm a little bit into the too many sequel episodes territory. Not a ton of like pure originals, I would say. I mean, like, I was struck by the introduction of the Merkid at the end of Beyond the Rapids, because, you know, I think it's a little rare when we see a full new character at this point.
Plus, like, they seem very non-binary, which is exciting. They're just being a Merkid in the water, and they're putting too much salt in it for authenticity, which is great.
I was like, oh, we're just...
Mad at them.
Yeah. I think Beyond the Rapids is a good episode. You got your JP and Maney in there, and then you get the Merkid at the end. And use another trend. I think Ren is being used a lot more, and the Science Kids after a big gap. So I think that they're part of the regular rotation now. Which is good.
Ren is getting used a lot more. The other two Science Kids are getting like used as party poopers, which I'm not that appreciative of. I feel
Ren
like
is the important one.
Been doing that for a while, though. It's not new.
I know, but we could do more with them. Like, Ren is nice and all, but like, does she have to be the only one who gets episode attention?
I think here's the thing. We're fully into going back to what I was saying before. We're fully into the like they took a while to introduce all the regulars they maybe had in mind. And now we're just rotating through, kind of. Like, that's how it kind of feels like. Like, we've gone back to Toman a few times in this batch.
Oh my god, Toman.
Yeah, that was actually appreciated.
We're Toman fans. I'm also a Toman
extra
fan. Okay.
Yeah, I enjoy him.
Handlebarb. I need to see Handlebarb again. She's the
there.
best.
She was there in the Secrets. I was rewatching part of that. She's in the Secrets one.
She needs her own episode where she goes off like the biggest jump or something.
Need more Toman and Liza, right? That's what all of our favorite ship. But there's a lot of ships in the show, honestly.
It's so good.
Honestly, a lot of ships in this children's show about like 10-year-olds. So I think maybe I mean, Craig's an incredibly successful show, but I think does a little bit feel like we're rotating through people, and does a little bit feel like we're following up a lot on people, in my opinion.
I like that. What's wrong with following up? I want to follow up.
Yeah, I like the following up on people. I would sort of agree with you that like doing sequels on episode premises that have already been done have been on or off. But I do like us going back to characters, because I think that for the most part that works. Like adding on to characters we already know, like giving them more stuff to do. Like I enjoy that part of it.
Yeah, I think it's valid as like characters that good characters you introduce, put them in a new situation, new premise. Yeah, I think the show does a lot of that.
That's what a lot of life is, revisiting characters until you move away or die. That's just like how it goes. And it's not like that's all that this season is, because it's been interspersed with this growing plot gradually too. So I feel like it's been a good mix.
And that makes me feel like, what it's missing is more like, the through line of the character arcs of the main people. I feel like that might tie it together.
Dylan, I don't think we need character arcs. I think Craig can just
Don't you want to see JP go on some epic emotional transformation?
I mean, I do, but I don't think it needs to be permanent out of that episode.
JP would not be your first pick.
That could be a one episode thing, and then he goes back to normal.
Is JP too JP-ized?
No, he's perfect!
I
love when he realizes like shirt is his like standout, like like how Kelsey has a sword and Craig has like a staff, like his shirt is his special.
Which episode is that? His sleeves, right? His oversized sleeves, or his iconic accessory. That was the highlight of that episode. Yeah,
so good. I love JP, but I feel like because it's been such a trend for shows to have more plot and to have all these like big character arcs throughout their seasons, I feel like it's kind of an unrealistic expectation that every show now have that. But like Craig's not that necessarily that kind of show, but that's like fine. I like that.
It's definitely fine. It's just like a suggestion, like it's. I don't think I'm looking for like an epic She-Ra style character arc. I'm looking for more of a vague Ladybug style, hit on a few times, kind of like overall.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so you don't understand, but
I don't understand, but I also don't.
You're lost. That's what I'll say. But no. What's the other show to compare it to? I don't even know. JP, no, I think JP's been good, but there's a lot of random JP gags, I think, in this bunch too. Like he's obsessed with monster trucks in the musical episode. That's very funny, but it's a lot of random stuff.
Yeah, my assessment is that JP, they figured out that he's best used as like side character, like a secondary gags. Like he doesn't really get episodes focused on him, but he always interjects at the right time. Kelsey gets a lot of episodes dedicated to her, but like she's extra, so like it works for her. Now, Craig, I think my slight issue would be that like I am getting a bit of main character fatigue from Craig, and that like I don't feel like he's getting enough different characteristics to do. Like I don't know. Like there's one episode in this batch. Was it the bottle one? But like it just struck me like we're doing like Craig being kind of a passive aggressively mad again thing. Like that feels like a thing that keeps coming up in this show, and I'm like starting to get a little tired of it. So like I wish Craig had a bit more expansive character traits to look into, but like that it's still not enough to like, he's still charming enough to like, especially when the episodes focus on the three of them. Like when it does that, it's totally fine. But like what I do feel like ones that are Craig focused are not as strong generally. But like I think on the whole, the character gang still holds up in spite of the fact that they haven't really changed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Give Craig something going on. No, I mean, I generally agree. I didn't think that very much from this batch, but secret episode probably would be that. Yeah, we'll check in again on that when we get more Craig-centric episodes, probably. Okay, weeb talk. So, it's not just me that the most notable trends from the last several episodes of Craig of the Creek is there's a lot of anime references.
Yes.
I think it's not just anime. I think it's references in general. Like also like on my rewatch, I noticed that they reference Seinfeld for some reason in multiple episodes. They reference Sonic a lot with the ferret character. So I don't think it's limited to anime. I think it's just like we're going real hard on referencing pop culture that would be relevant. I mean, I would say relevant to kids, but like what kids are watching Seinfeld? That's like especially an adult joke.
Pop culture relevant to people born in the mid to late 80s and mid 90s and early 90s, I'd say.
So I guess relevant to the writers of the show.
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure kids of the day, like kids today, are still watching Dragon Ball Z and One Piece and whatnot. But the point is, like that's like
do they know
a little
what
dated with your
Fushigi
anime
balls
references.
are?
Right.
I mean,
but I guess my point would be like that feels like the part where like the writers are really like letting go. Like this is where we're putting our stamp on it. Like this is how we're like making our fun. Spice to this. I would say that it's funny, but at the same time, like I'm beginning fatigue in terms of like relying on that too much. Like I feel like there are other shows where like
you're always very critical of too many references.
Yeah. Like I think like Solar Opposites was the most recent one where like it felt like just like throwing it in, like that's the joke. The fact that we're showing it in this universe at all, like that's just the joke, and like it works to an extent, but yeah, I think in this batch most of the references work fine. I could do without the Sonic stuff. Like I don't particularly care. But yeah, so like we're on the line there in regards to like how much I can handle anymore.
Yeah, good points with Seinfeld and Sonic. I definitely don't agree that it's mostly general references, because I'm going to go over all the evidence of all the anime references they made.
Oh,
it's
like, I'm sure there's like
specifically anime.
Right, I'm sure there's a specific person who's like really into Evangelion, and they decided to like stake that reference in that particular episode. Like, you know,
no, like the crew is clearly as a whole very into anime. This is across the board, across and I know OKKO was like was very anime, right? Like OK has a lot of anime stuff going on.
Yeah, but like they weren't like referencing the names of the animes. They were just doing the things.
Did anyone say Sugoi in OKKO?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Nobody said Nani.
Yeah. No one said Nani in OKKO?
I'm pretty sure not. But, I could be mistaken.
Yeah, if you can, I actually do love it. It's opposite to my tone. But I just... I love it, but we need to talk about it. You know, like, since when is this show an anime? Like, well, it feels like all of a sudden, you know, we made anime references before. Of course we have. But this is like 4 or 5 episodes in the last 15 where we have significant anime references.
Dylan, it's always been an anime.
Yeah.
This show's been anime from the start.
Yeah.
Oh, give me proof of that. I want to hear.
Dylan, I implore you to look at any children's show at a major network right now that is not like... All these people grew up around the same decade. They all watched like the same animes, and so you're going to see it crop up everywhere now because they're finally old enough to be working on their own show.
This show's always... So is every show an anime?
Yes!
Okay, every show's an anime.
This show specifically, the elders have been around since the beginning. They always have anime.
The elders and Hustis have always kind of been they're anime channeling entities,
right? So like,
although they've gone a lot more into D&D, I think, with the elders in the past. Okay, so let's go over. I think
it's a healthy mix of both D&D and anime.
Yeah, used
for
to
the
be
elders
a lot more. Used to be a lot more D&D. Let's go through all the references. So we had Trading Day. This is we got the two piece, the Lifeguard manga, which is what Yakusis' something favorite lifeguard manga. She says normies. I don't think that's an anime term, but she does say normies. We have the Yuzu Knack-Knacks. Yuzu is the weebest flavor, and the Knack-Knacks are the Kit Kats. Special Kit Kats going on. Mark copied her OC and just added cat features to it. That was maybe my favorite of all of them. I really like that Mark copied this child's OC and made it a cat girl. Like, does not speak highly of Mark. And we got the 2-piece blind box, and that's a significant plot point, is that it's a blind box, and that helps them convince Eustace or something, that wherever they're selling, trading these weird bee ears or something. Yeah, do kids know what blind boxes are? Is that a thing?
Yes.
Get them from Hot Topic. I don't know if that's the kid.
They're also at Target and Walmart now. Like,
they're pretty.
You buying a lot of blind boxes from Target and Walmart? What blind box? Are they like Teen Titans Go blind boxes?
Yeah, like
I don't think that. I assume there's not, but that would be funny. And at the end, it's Mark gets the Yuzu Knack-Knacks. He said, "I saved anime night." So there you go. Not surprising the elders have the anime night. Okay, next episode. Maybe it was just the 1-2 punch of Into Crisis and Elder Rock. Maybe that's what made it so notable. But we got My Hoagie Academia. That was a big thing.
Oh my god.
That's where
I love it so much.
That's where the shovel's from, I think. Is it from, or is it from a different show?
No, it's from a completely different
anime.
anime.
It's from the shovel-focused anime.
Yeah, it's a shovel-focused anime.
Yeah, Mark's because it's Moe, you fool. So we got the
so
Moe
good.
line in there.
That was the line, Dylan, that made me think of you the most. I was like,
because
oh, Moe.
It's
yes,
Moe.
Dylan.
It's Moe, you fool. Yeah.
Yeah, see, you could be Mark.
I don't think I've ever said that, but I could. It is me, kind of a parody. Of me. Yeah.
That's how I should watch the show. Now, I just watch it as if it's a parody of you. That's
okay,
good. That's
by
good
the
strategy.
way, the Koshiki orb is not anime. Fushigi was just a really popular thing that they advertised along with like the zoo books and stuff in the 90s.
Yeah, with the elders, they make a lot of like weird old toy references, right? Like that's,
but that's not an anime thing. That's just a 90s kid thing.
Yeah, how about we talked about the shovel though. Mark makes out with the shovel.
That's
and has a shrine to it.
It's so amazing.
That's a way of putting it.
The soul of a girl is trapped in that shovel, and that's
did they say that? Is that what the plot of the show was?
That's the plot, because one of the kids was saying I don't understand why you care about this shovel, and Mark was like, you don't understand, she's not the shovel, she's trapped in the shovel, her soul energy.
Would you watch the shovel anime, Michelle?
Absolutely, that sounds so crazy. Are you kidding me? I can't believe that doesn't already exist. You know how much anime's out there? With wacky?
You definitely, criticize it a lot. You're very critical of it.
Oh, I would love to see the shovel.
It's like the equivalent of, if you, extended out Lapis being trapped in the mirror to,
Yeah!
Lapis just stays in the mirror the whole show?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that checks out. Okay, so the shovel. Yeah, I think that might be the big one. But then, later on, we get to Time Capsule. And Kelsey says Nani. There you go. The anime meme.
And it was just some random kid doing a Naruto run at her.
Naruto running. Okay, there you go. That's another big one. And then we have Bobby goes full Super Saiyan.
Fake episode for Bobby.
Alex, as the number one Bobby stan, you must have loved this episode.
Look, Bobby finally got a job. He was being a security guard, and he was good at it. Yeah.
Time Capsule is so weird. It starts off as a very very typical kids show episode with a very standard kind of Craig he doesn't want to make any new matter. You could say, and then it just turns into we have to trick Bobby. We have to go into the future and build this elaborate setup to get Bobby off.
That second half of the episode was just great.
Right? It's great. And then Bobby goes super set. He goes big time Bobby Blue, and he
yes! Oh my gosh!
I don't know what. That's what I'm saying. This show, these episodes have gone hard into what they're doing, and big time Bobby Blue. It's a big Bobby highlight. I at first I was I wasn't buying the Bobby hype. I think Alex has been on board right away, and I wasn't really buying the Bobby hype. But now they keep bringing him back, and they keep doing stuff. So I think I'm on board now as Bobby.
Yay!
You're not sure, but you're they're not going to get.
I was about to say I might be on board with him being one of the most prominent secondary characters in the show. I think he's kind of at that point. They really keep bringing him back.
I don't care about prominence. He's just one of the most fun.
He's definitely fun, yeah. But the biggest. I mean, he's big time Bobby. So
yeah, he's big time Bobby. He's not just big Bobby.
Yeah. Okay. Then we got, as reference, we got the Jinxening. Kind of has you could call the anime style type of graphics with the Jinxening. And then we got Sugoi from Eustace in there. So
I forgot about Sugoi.
What is Sugoi?
I'm cool.
Oh, okay. I'm not enough of a weeb to know that one.
Not cool. It's not a weeb.
You know Nani, but you don't know Sugoi?
No.
Okay. I guess that's the scale. When are they going to say Daijobu in Craig? When's that happening? That's the next step, I think.
You summoned it. Now it's going to happen.
That's the natural progression of this weebiness, that's what I'm saying. Oh, and then at the end of Jinxening, there's the Homer gif with Paloma going into the hedge.
Memes is also a pop culture thing they do. Because there's also that one with the tea time kids, and they did that meme with Craig of the face, I don't know. I don't know how to describe memes, but they've done memes before too. So
what
like,
do you
that's
think of
just another.
Paloma? What do you think of Paloma as this villain, this like final boss? Because she just straight takes up a straight supervillain role in the episode. I was pretty charmed by it because it's very atypical for Craig to like have a supervillain in there.
And honestly, I remember going back to early episodes, and she is like in the background.
She's a background character.
Yes,
okay,
she is, which adds like to the credence of like her friend moved away like a year ago or whenever, and it's been like months and months, and no one has tried to.
It's a pretty high level concept. We have this background character we never did anything with. Let's like satirize that and make a plot line surround.
Yeah, like it's great. It pays off really well.
Oh, and so that's why at the end she's like, I'll just fade back into the background.
We'll see if she comes back, Paloma. There's more Tomon there. Yeah, that's just the Tomon is the one you'd go to Jinx first. I appreciated that. And I did appreciate jinxing, covering jinxing. That's definitely a big kid thing or at least from when I was a kid. Definitely a lot of jinxing going on. I don't know. Was there any other time capsules? Like that was a thing that did as a kid. Nostalgia type stuff. Like we talk about that a lot. I don't know. Other than that, though, what I would say from heavy nostalgia things from this group.
Have you guys ever broken a wall of your neighbor before?
With a PVC sword? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that episode.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I really liked that's the Kelsey the worthy. I really liked the store lady remembering Kelsey. That was that episode.
Cute.
Yeah. That's Kelsey's dad is fixing the Craig's family's wall. Yeah. I'm trying to remember these early ones, but
he went way early in the morning though. Like, how does he not understand?
That's kind of that's a dad thing.
Yeah. But he basically broke in. Like, I would be outraged too. At like fair. 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, my goodness, Sarah, you brought your power tools during like a school week.
During a school week?
Yeah, kids need to sleep. Yeah.
When are we ever getting a school episode?
No, it's the summer. Okay. Yeah. They said so Craig takes place in an infinite summer. So they said one of the science kids in the Rapids, but Ren's like, oh, the other one, like that you go to space camp, like, so you like referenced him going to go to space camp. That like really threw me as like, what's the timeline? There's enough time for space camp left in the summer. Like what? Like and then he started thinking about how long it's been the summer in Craig, and so we really cannot reference time. It's a slippery slope when you say anything that vaguely might take place in the summer in the future. Well, I don't think we'll skip time. I think it'll always be the same summer.
Yeah, like hang on though. If it's infinite summer, then there's all the time in the world for space camp. So where's the confusion? You can always go to space camp.
That's my conclusion that it's infinite summer. But realistically, it's not going to be infinite summer. So that's what I arrived after trying to think about it.
I see. You arrived where the only thing makes sense is that it's infinite summer.
I mean, at some point they could do how was that school year? We're back at the creek again. It's a year later after, like we could do that, start a season that way.
Maybe the 70s kids got lost in a time tunnel.
Maybe they're with Helen. Maybe that's where all the 70s kids are.
I was going to say, the one character we haven't brought back is Helen.
I don't think she's the only one, but she's definitely the one we want to see the most.
It's purposeful because they're like, we did that, it was amazing, we're not going to follow up. But they're gonna lose patience at some point. They'll bring Helen. I'm pretty sure.
Helen is the green poncho, you guys.
Helen
was the original green poncho, something like that. Yeah. Okay. In conclusion, I think they're gonna keep going hard in the anime, and at some point, this show will just be consumed by the anime, and it will fully be an anime. And it'll start airing in Japan.
Oh my gosh!
So that's kind of where I think is happening.
I actually believe that like an anime style full episode is.
They're 100% doing that. That's almost what Jinxening was. Like they're definitely doing that. and it's going to be both the best and worst thing ever. Like that's my prediction.
Dylan, I'm concerned you're confusing just beautiful animation sequence with anime period, and I don't think.
No, I agree. I agree. Jinxening is not fully anime
well.
style. I agree with that. I think like there's like some side by side shots you could call it. It's a little fine line I think between kind of like fantasy or like action type genre versus like fully like anime reference. I think Jinxening was partly just generally they went hard in the animation. Yeah.
The way they went really hard for the musical, like that animation was just so gorgeous.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say it's like
anime.
It's just really pretty.
That's what I'm saying. Jinxening is the first step towards the full anime episode. That's what I'm saying.
Oh boy.
Okay, the musical. No, we haven't talked nearly enough about the musical episode. How does this compare to Mr. Greg?
Mr. Greg is better.
I don't think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, they're these full musical episodes within a show.
You're talking about like the episode that was like the ultimate climax of Pearl's gay strife and anguish with like Craig having a good time inside imagining fun things. Like that's not comparable. I don't think we should try.
Well, I'll compare them. So I'll try. So no, I'll say something that's good for both of them. So Mr. Greg, obviously, there's nothing that can be right, Michelle. There's nothing that compares to the "It's Over, Isn't It?" like highlight. But I would say Craig of the Creek is in the key of the Creek. I think it's an attempt to make a more consistent musical style episode. Mr. Greg was very much, we'll do these different genre of songs, and they a lot of them, a criticism you could make is that they didn't necessarily go smoothly into each other. I think the music flows very well in this episode. It's very consistent. I think this episode's more consistent with its songs throughout and like what it's trying to do.
I think that a musical is very valid in wanting to do different kinds of songs, and that should never be a criticism of a musical. But that's just. I think
different types of music, and I do appreciate that. And as a whole, I think I honestly probably.
And this episode tries to do different types too, though. I think.
It totally does.
Yeah, we get our hard rock Kelsey song. We get. We get
the creepy soup song. That one was good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We get Karen singing in the sewer song, which is great.
That one's my favorite.
I like JP / I guess Craig sings JP the monster truck and then it flies. I really liked that song. I just thought it was a really good song.
That's honestly the one I've listened to the most. Is the
right? So good.
Okay. The first and last ones I feel like are the obvious highlights. The I Wish I Were at the Creek and the Creek is Everywhere. And then there's a Ren singing song too. I really like that one.
Oh my god, she's just going so off the rails and it's just so good. It's so good. She's so taken away by science. It's a very Entrapta kind of mood, but I love it.
Yeah, what's the Ren Entrapta comparison?
They're the same, and they're both great. And just give them $1 million and see what.
What's the Sewer Queen Glimmer comparison?
I know. I was thinking about that.
Well, between this and Kipo, it's a big month for Karen Fukuhara singing.
I know, right?
Yes. And I'm bitter she didn't sing in She-Ra.
Yeah.
She needed it. We would have had the trifecta.
Maybe in the movie, like hold your breath. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
Are
we doing a hashtag She-Ra movie podcast?
hashtag Craig movie, get it trending. Craig movie. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Are we still tweeting She-Ra movie? Probably not. I don't think we're
sure. Why not? It's only been a couple.
The fandom is so rabid; they'll probably do it again like next week or something.
Yeah, they probably will. I think the point is to get it trending. So I don't think treating it consistently throughout the week helps, but maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I love In the Key of the Creek. Want to rewatch it again? I think I do think it's a special Craig episode. Will they do another musical episode?
I feel like yes. I feel like musicals are something that's fun to do, and it's like an exciting kind of challenge. So why wouldn't they? Yeah, they did great.
Steven never. Other than the movie, kind of counts. We never really did a second Mr. Greg, right?
But they also have like so many songs, so it was like a musical spread out.
Steven is more of Craig doesn't have as many songs, even though Dispatch had a few. Yeah,
so they'll condense it into another musical.
I think
for
it's
the
more
next-
surprising that Craig had a musical episode. Steven, it's like, of course, Steven's always kind of a musical, a full musical episode. Sure, this is In the Key of the Creek made because of Steven, like, or would they have arrived at this independently?
I think you arrive at this independently. You got
He
Jeff
just wanted
Rose.
to do a musical.
You've got Jeff Rosenstock in your
Right.
catalog.
I mean, that's the thing, is you have
gotta
an
use
extremely
them.
prominent
Oh,
composer. Yeah.
also, I would say, like, you brought up Mr. Greg. Like, the thing is that it's harder to do a musical to fit in with an existing storyline, so that's what makes Mr. Greg all the more impressive. Whereas, like, a musical for something like Craig of the Creek, where it's episodic, like, you can fit that anywhere, and it doesn't really change much. So, like, it makes it easier for a show like Craig of the Creek, if they wanted to do a second one, it's easier for them to do it than for a show that has, like, a full-on 5-season storyline.
Yeah. I mean, I think Mr. Greg wasn't the most naturally fit into the plot of the show. I think
It was very natural, Dylan.
Greg wins a bunch of money. Follow-up musical
Yeah,
episode.
it's like smack dab in the middle of that perfect season 3, man. Like,
Look, I can't insult Steven Universe. Alex will get so upset. I can't do it. I can't. Okay, so we'll see how long that
I miss
lasts.
Steven
We'll
Universe,
see.
you guys.
We'll see. Craig's great too. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Craig's
Craig is
also
good
great.
too.
That's the
It's
point
good.
here.
But yeah, so don't compare it to a totally different show, okay?
Of course, that's the natural talking point.
No,
with
it's
that.
not.
It's the natural. It's come on. It's the if we're doing the talking heads, it's the natural talking point for the comparison. Okay, I wanted to follow up last week on a totally not contrived discussion we had about Craig of the Creek's earnestness. Like actual good discussion we had. Because I think for the most part, this batch still, I don't know if it showcases earnestness quite as much, but like still a lot of like episodes that play into that. I did want to highlight Mortimer to the Rescue, because I think last week I was like, Craig doesn't do the type of ending where, it's like, oh, something like kind of like bad but funny happens and then it's not resolved and it's like, oh, haha, it's like it's like a subversion of the former moralistic ending the cartoons had. But Mortimer Rescue did do that ending, so I thought that was interesting. That the show still can be a little bit more of a typical modern cartoon, even if it's for the most part, doesn't play into a lot of those things. And the elders, I think, are just trapped in in a hole or something at the end of that episode, which is like perfect.
That was Jason's crew. They were trapped in the hole.
The Rangers, yeah.
Boris was very hungry. I hope he got to eat something besides those berries. He's a big boy.
It's not related. I'm a big Boris fan. I think we need more.
Yeah,
I like
Boris is
Boris too. My love for Boris kind of came out of nowhere, but during the flashlight tag, like he really grew on me.
Really
and I love Boris now.
Okay, more Boris-centric episode coming up.
Is Boris the Rolf of this show? It's just what I wonder. He has some Rolf energy about him.
Okay, let's wrap things up here. Anything you didn't do? Michelle, what are your highlights from anything else in these 15 episodes?
Okay, so in Ferret Quest, the thing that killed me the most is when they were doing the sock puppets, and JP was just like, it's not working. Oh, we need to do like 2 like sock puppets, like 1 of each, like boy and girl. They're like, oh, it's still not working. He's like, I know what the problem is. Like, you see the sock puppets, like, we're representing 2 ferrets, but really we represent all ferrets. So they made like 4, and they're all like kind of androgynous, and it's just like the most like cute but amazingly good thing ever. And I love that JP did it. It's so good, and the goofy voice just sold it.
Love the inclusive sock puppets. Oh yeah, it was
so good.
The B plot is great. The A plot has a lot of texting and emojis in it. It has
you'd like Kelsey. That, like when Kelsey would be like, Craig, and he'd type back Kelsey. I'm like, Dylan.
Yeah, I loved it. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I instantly made emojis for our Discord from that episode.
Oh my god.
And then the A plot, you got. Oh, and we also had Stax and Older Nessa were bonding, and they're talking in Spanish at some point too.
Yeah, big mood right there. When you don't want people to know what you're talking about, switch to Spanish.
Rip Kelsey. And that reminded me that Stax is Latina, which I forgot from. That was established in one episode.
I didn't know Wildernessa. Is that new information?
I don't think we knew that. I think we knew her voice actress was.
Well, yes.
Yeah. I don't remember if that was broached before. So that's good, yeah. the Stax puts animals in a circle and read books to them. Wildernessa made them fight.
Yes, I included the translation for you in the outline. Thank you.
Oh, that's
You're
the
welcome.
translation of the.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I was like, where'd this come from?
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, because they're talking about Wildernessa's Osito, and so like they just switched to talking about their stuffed animals, and Kelsey felt left out.
Does Kelsey have stuffed? I feel like she's a stuffed animal. Does she in her room?
I don't know. She doesn't seem like a stuffed animal kind of. Maybe she's got Mortimer, so it's like I don't know.
Mortimer is kind of a stuffed animal. Yeah,
he's a real animal. She's a
Kelsey should have a giant parakeet stuffed animal. That would be someone. They should get her a gift of that.
Not everyone is into the plushes, Dylan.
I want everyone to experience the joy of it like I do. So give Kelsey
they
that
mailed
gift.
one of your EVs, one to each child in need, Dylan.
No, definitely not. Kelsey, we talked about the texting, and then Kelsey and Stax they hug at the end, reconciled. Yeah, what are we shipping more, Kelsey Stax or Kelsey Wildernessa or Stax Wildernessa?
I'm
Kelsey,
still. I'm on the Kelsey Stax train. I could see any ship working. I can see any ship working out. I could totally see Kelsey Wildernessa shaking out. But like, I don't know. I feel like there's like a stronger mutual respect between Kelsey and Stax. Wildernessa is still not there yet with the respecting of Kelsey. In the future, it could happen. But right now, it's not there.
Not yet. Kelsey and Stax have like a more. I feel like they have more of like a current friendship, whereas Kelsey has a crush on Wilderness.
Right.
It's like more of a distant thing. But that's what makes it more appealing to me. So yeah. But yeah, no, Kelsey Stax are more of an established bond to work from, so it's hard to argue with that. Yeah. Maybe Stax and Wildernessa are bonding off screen now, though. So
Wildernessa has a crush on nature.
Yes.
I think you mean on animals, but I guess nature's actually safer.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll briefly bring up Wildernessa when we get to Mononoke and our Ghibli rewatch series in terms of references from Mononoke.
Like 2 months from now.
Oh, that's gonna
2 months from now.
It's gonna work for like 5 people listening to that podcast.
We'll bring up hey, everyone listens to Craig, okay? Big crossover audience. So since this is the anime show, those are anime movies, now.
There you go.
Crossover audience. Yeah. What else, Michelle, from the episodes?
There's a thing, but I'm like ashamed of it, and I don't think I can talk about it.
Please. Vaguely tell us what you're referring to.
No.
This is a supportive podcast now.
What could you be ashamed of? Just tell us the episode you're referring to and like what happened.
It's from Secret in a Bottle.
Have you put secrets in the bottle?
No, it's not that.
Did you one of their secrets revealed apply to you? Is that what happened?
No.
Did it remind you of something?
I'm gonna try to. You can't judge me too much.
Okay.
So when I was watching this episode like a while back, I was like shook by how like. Okay, so the secret kid has a really amazing voice, and I was like shocked by how into it I was, and then I felt really bad because I'm like, no, but it's like a kid character. So then I had to like look up the voice actor and stalk him to make sure he was old enough that it was okay to crush on his voice. And thank goodness he is, but that's my dark secret. I think his voice is really great.
I actually relate to this.
Yeah, like
it happens. It happens.
And kind of mysterious, and it's just like, oh my god, that's like the best voice I've ever heard in my life. Who is this kid? Like out of nowhere, this bottle secret kid. But I really fell for it.
It's Cola Scola. I've got his IMDb up. The only thing I recognize is that he's also the nephew of the baker guy on Tuca and Birdie, which is not ideal, but
that's not ideal. He's being on Craig as this character for sure.
Cola Scola banned on Twitter right now. What's like?
Wow. That's a twist.
I don't know what we did, but no, I think the secret kid is definitely like, what is this kid like? What's this kid's voice? And what is this kid's demeanor? Like,
just drink soda and put secrets inside him.
That's why it was amazing, though. Like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, he's like alluring for the kids to give their secrets to, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they're going for,
Is
but
alluring. It's great. Like, what a power.
Oh, he's also an actor on that Amy Sedaris at Home show. Dylan, did you say you watched that, or you were gonna?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, but I don't know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we know what Cole Skull is banned for Twitter from. I don't know if we should be referencing. Okay.
We'll look it up later.
We're not talking about that. I was saying it. We're not talking about that. What else? Michelle, anything? Yeah, Secret. I love Secret in a Bottle. It's a crazy episode.
He does also save that girl's like butt when she like admits.
We got the return of the fourth Hearst girl. Yeah.
He saves her, which was like nice of him. He's like, yeah, I think they're what did he say? Like their toenails or their feet or something, which is like true. Yeah, that is like really weird about horses. I think horses are kind of weird, so I get it, girl. Horses aren't for everyone.
You get it, girl. Yeah. Okay. Alex, anything on your mind from the episodes?
Only thing is that the one with Bobby, the time capsule one, yeah. So the first half of the episode, it's not great, but like I do sympathize with the idea of like being kind of freaked out that you don't remember anything from your childhood, because I feel like I don't have any memories before I'm like 10 years old, really. Like I
think it was a good thing that they're hitting on. Yeah,
like it's a thing that's like, yeah, that's true. I don't like know anything that happened to me when I was a kid, and that's like kind of freaky. So I respect. I probably would have gone Craig's whole like, I'm just gonna stare at the wall now reaction if like that revelation suddenly came upon me. So yeah, I felt that.
I love Craig's little shoes, his dancing shoes from when he was a baby. The fact that he like ruined Bernard, like poor little awkward Bernard as a child trying to sing a song, and then Craig just appears dancing because that's just what he did as a kid. I just love it.
Yeah, that was good. I feel like, do kids have the memory loss thing? Like, I also don't remember much from before I was like 10. I agree. I feel like I have a perception of kids do remember stuff, but I don't know how that works with the ages. I think Colasco is like parodying Mayor de Blasio. I think that's what got banned from. There you
go. That's perfect.
That's pretty funny. I don't have the full story, so I disavow if it's not good.
Post in chat. Let's figure this out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, I think we hit on most things. I mean, there's just a lot of episodes. The Jessica Shorts episode, I loved all the shorts. Loved the return of Little Chris.
Little Chris! Oh, he's so scary. I'm glad she didn't get bubblegummed because he was like ready to blow.
Yeah, I could do a Jessica Shorts episode every season. I could do that. That could be
she's so good.
The Gray Bulls in Adventure Time, right? Like they did it a few times.
Well, or just like a Craig's Family Shorts. Like imagine like a Shorts episode about Bernard's life. You know, like that'd be kind of fun.
Bernard.
I miss Bernard.
Michelle. I assume Michelle has the take that Bernard hasn't appeared.
Bernard, I know. I mean, I like seeing him in the episode where he teaches Jessica power punchers, and that the is like, yeah, Craig, like this is what happens when you learn from the best. Which is so good. I love Bernard. I do think we have been cheated out of not seeing enough of him. But again, like if we're mostly following Craig and Craig doesn't really like his older brother, it makes sense they wouldn't like interact more than they had to for like a family reason. So I get it. But like Bernard is a treasure. He's the true Jamak of the show / Squidward. So it's the best character.
He's definitely the Squidward.
I love Bernard. He's my favorite. Jessica's my second favorite, and then like 5 characters are like in third place. But Bernard is the number one for sure.
I feel like last year there was like a heavy amount of Bernard, and we had like a push for Bernard's the best supporting character on the show. I feel like there's just not been a lot of Bernard so far this year.
No appearance of his girlfriend at all, which is surprising.
We need more Karen. Yeah. We need Alexa
Karen?
singing.
Yeah,
Karen
Alexa.
Fucara.
It's not
Oh, Alexa,
No,
yeah.
it's Glimmer's voice actress also does Alexis.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
I was like, what
so
character are you talking about?
Karen could be a character, yeah.
Isn't it weird that she does Sewer Queen and Alexa? Or maybe that's like normal. Maybe a bunch of people do
Alexis.
5 voices in the show. Who knows?
That's called the Young Justice, but I don't think they do. I don't think there's a lot of that type of crossover here. But yeah, we're due for a big Bernard episode or episodes. I definitely think so. Okay, that's it.
And a final thought: old green poncho, purple hair, big glasses. Reminded me of the teacher from OKKO, and I'm very interested to see her full character design. I'm really into it.
Alex, I thought you were going to say she reminded you of a weeb, because that was like a weeb energy also. Slash like a queer energy. It could be multiple things.
Yeah, it's energy, and I want
you
want
can
more.
just assume everyone on the show is a weeb at this point, so just jot that, pencil that in.
I'm not sure JP is a weeb.
No, JP.
He's on his way.
I think anime might fly over JP's head, like in a good way. Like
JP had a podcast advertising gag.
Yes.
Yeah. So
what did we call it? It wasn't Squarespace, but it was like
website baker.
Yeah, website baker. Like, it was so good. Also, we haven't said anything about Maya, and she's still amazing. And young Maya in the flashback was so great, and she didn't make the team because she has too much energy, I guess, or she's too aggressive. But like, girl, you'll find don't worry. Like, once you stop being the king's lackey, you'll find a place. And I don't know. I love Maya so much. And little young Maya was also great.
And Omar's booger impressions was very solid.
He's a goofy kid. We don't get any of that from like where he currently is. He's so serious now, but like it's nice to know he read like silly comic books and put things up his nose to make fun of the coach. That's so cute.
The loss of innocence.
I know, the loss of his innocence. He has these poncho duties.
Maya coup episode after her poncho props her up because of their previous connection, and Craig helps, and there's a coup of the king. That's where we're going.
I do love that the prince's older sister was the king. Everyone just referred to her as a king because king can be a title, doesn't have to be a gender-based thing. So I think that's great. Yeah, she's the king. No one questions it. It's just there. Yeah.
It's definitely a twist that there was previous kings. I don't know if people theorize that. Interested to see where it goes. Yeah, we'll see in the season 3 premiere maybe. Although I think it's about a dodgeball game or something, Foursquare game. So I don't know if we'll see that much, but it'll probably turn into big plot stuff.
We just know it's a tournament, right? Like, what is that? That
we don't
card?
know it's Foursquare.
What if it's that card?
Am I making that up? Okay, yeah, we're going to bring out the beasts again? Are we going to do that?
Bernard will come back to save it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a tournament. You're right. It is just a tournament, so we'll see. I think it's probably a combat tournament.
Why wouldn't you say that?
Get Kelsey in there.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I guess it's Craig and his friend, so it's probably something like that. Okay, we'll find out. It's airing in like 5 days, so we'll see that. Let us know what you thought of these Craig episodes. Overlyanimated.com, youtube.com/overlyanimated for everything that we're talking about. I'm sorry if I was coming in too hot on this podcast. I know I was coming in hot on some of these takes, so that was... I love the weeb stuff. I was trying to be funny. We'll see if it landed. Discord, we have a Craig channel there, overlyanimated.com/Discord. Support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to our current patrons, especially a patron of the podcast, Zierf. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatrice, Hume, Michael, Needle, and Phonician. Even though season 3 is starting soon for Craig, we'll be back at some point in the future. We can't do it super regularly. We got other stuff going on, including our Ghibli rewatch series. So we'll be back probably once they go a little bit ways into season 3 for Craig. Exciting. We're going straight into the next season after Craig wasn't airing a lot. So summer, I guess, is Craig time. Infinite summer, infinite Craig.
Yes, infinite Craig, infinite summer.
Infinite Michelle making promos for Craig.
I would love that. It's a nice one to work with.
Yay. Okay, that's good. So we'll see. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time, whenever, for Craig. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.